Hello, this is how to be an active and engaged learner in Mr. Goldberg's U.S. History 1 class. So you all should recognize this. This is the piece we read by Jillian Keenan in Slate magazine about whether Andrew Jackson should be on the $20 bail or not. And she decides to nominate Harriet Tubman. And you can go ahead and pause the video here and read this paragraph up to there. Now, after I read that paragraph, I am interested in Harriet Tubman, and I want to know questions like, where was she born? Did she have brothers and sisters? How did she escape? How old was she when she escaped? Who else helped set up the Underground Railroad? And how old was she when she died? You may have other questions. The point is to have some questions which gives you a guide of where to go next. So this is basically how I'd like the course to work. You'll read something that piques your interest. Hopefully I'll provide that often, but you may find some things on your own. Then you'll ask some questions about it, because that's what history is, asking questions. And then you'll do some follow-up research and record what you learned in your notes. So the only problem is I wish there were some search engine or some way you could get information about Harriet Tubman. That would be really cool if you could do that. So let's take a look. Thankfully there is. This is Wikipedia. Harriet Tubman was born, Araminta is her first name, Ross, around, the C means circa, roughly, 1822. African-American abolitionist, someone who wants to abolish slavery, humanitarian and Union spy during the American Civil War. Born into slavery, she escaped and subsequently made 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved family and friends. And she used the Underground Railroad and later helped John Brown recruit men for his raid on Harper's Ferry. And in the post-war era, after the Civil War, she struggled for women's suffrage. Suffrage is a fancy word for the ability to vote in an election. So that's some pretty good information. But if we go back to Slate, this said more than 300 enslaved people she helped to escape. And Wikipedia said 70. So which one's right? We'll have to do some research to find that out. So let's take a second and go into the escape from slavery section of this Wikipedia article about Harriet Tubman. And again, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but if you go ahead and pause the video here, you can read up to, there was one of two things I had a right to. She explained later, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other. So go ahead and hit pause, and when you're ready, hit play again. And now here's the rest of the article, and you can read it down here. Just read up to here. I thought this was really interesting. This is the actual notice published in a newspaper when she escaped in 1849, and it looks like it follows a pretty standard format. So when somebody's slave escapes, you take out an ad that offers a reward, and you describe the slave and say what the details are. And if somebody helps return your slave to you, you would get, you would pay that person a reward. So that's sort of a window into what life is like in 1849 Maryland. And I'm just going to have you read a little bit more here. The informal, well-organized system called the Underground Railroad was composed of free and enslaved blacks, white abolitionists, and other activists. And these group of people called the Quakers were involved. And it says that she probably took a common route for fleeing slaves, going along the Choptank River through Delaware and north into Pennsylvania. I can't really picture that journey of 90 miles on my own, but I bet you can guess what tool you've learned how to use we could make use of to picture that route. So go ahead and read to the end here, hit pause, and when you're done, hit play. So before we even get into Google Earth, I decided to Google Harriet Tubman escape route, and if I hit images, a bunch are down here, and it turns out this first one that's drawn is actually pretty good. And it shows her in Bucktown, Maryland, heading up. There's that Choptank River that was mentioned, goes through Camden, up to Wilmington, and to Philadelphia. And if you hang on a second, I'll click on it and make that image a little bit bigger. So there it is, a little bit bigger. And I found this and put this image inside of my notes, which you'll do also as you do active and engaged reading. Now I can go into Google Earth and type in something like Bucktown, Maryland, and Google Earth has heard of that. And I figure that one of these place marks has to do with Harriet Tubman. That's the old general store. That's not it. Let me zoom out a little bit. Maybe this one over here. Oh, Harriet Tubman birthplace. Very cool. Let me turn off that label. Harriet Tubman birthplace. Look at that. And this says 300 slaves also. So I'm not sure why Wikipedia says 70 slaves. We'll have to explore that a little bit. And then here's another picture showing the field. It looks like there's a plaque there, but we can't read that quite here. And then someone else made a place mark saying farm where Harriet Tubman was a slave. So we could make a place mark and maybe put it over here and call it Harriet Tubman birthplace. Tubman birthplace. We could say around 1822. We're not sure because they didn't keep great records for slaves being born all the time. And now I could connect that up to, say, Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, which is where they said she helped John Brown lead a raid. We need to find out which of these place marks fits with that. We might need to zoom out and just see in general where is West Virginia to get some context to see where Harper's Ferry is in West Virginia. The way we do that establishing shot stuff. So it's pretty close to Washington, D.C., actually. But there's West Virginia. The contours are coming up. My Google Earth is, of course, moving slowly. And then this is where Harriet Tubman was born, over this way in Maryland. So this is, and then what you would do is you would save these place marks and email them to whoever is the Google Earth collator for that week. I forget the name we put for that job, but the person who is coordinating all the Google Earth stuff. So you would send these place marks to them, carbon copy me, and then you get credit for participating in class. And all of this comes from reading actively Gillian Keenan's piece where she nominates Harriet Tubman to replace Andrew Jackson. So the key is to be an active, involved reader and to make history come to life. So I look forward to seeing what you do instead of with the text, with the videos that you'll be looking at as we start to learn about Native Americans who were here before Columbus. Thanks for watching.